I'm going to show you how to survive your first board meeting, and when the invite arrives you don't freak out and miss an opportunity to show how good you are. If you are ambitious like me, then I'll show you the 11 ways I survive big meetings without succumbing to nerves, not knowing what to say, or missing an opportunity to drop an absolute knowledge bomb. Most people will treat the invitation to their first board meeting as a big deal, and they should, because it is. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have the confidence to absolutely nail it. Now, I remember attending a board meeting for the first time and it was nerve-wracking. You've been invited to join the upper echelons of the organisation. I mean, this is ace. The company recognises your impressive skill set. Great news. The problem is it may make you feel like a new joiner or the first day on the job. That feeling of awkwardness coupled with little doubt can be quite unsettling. But don't worry though. This is entirely normal. Experiencing anything for the first time is nerve-wracking, but once you've done it, the mystery and intrigue disappears. So whether you are presenting to the board for the first time, attending as a guest, or have joined a board, and this is the first formal meeting, then these feelings are perfectly normal. But what does it actually take to survive a board meeting for the first time? Well, with that question in mind, here are my 11 tips to set you up for success. Number 1, know what to expect. If I had to typify, then I would say that board meetings are typically every 2 to 6 months and can last anything from 2 to 6 hours. If the meeting is in person, it'll likely be catered for and whoever is running the show will plan for a few breaks, no doubt. Bear in mind, these won't be long breaks though, but just often enough to get some food in or head to the bathroom because the goal is to be as efficient with the time available as possible. Now, due to the pandemic, many board meetings may have moved online, which is both a blessing and a curse. It's great because we don't have too far to go, but can also mean that the formalities of lunchtime and break times can often get overlooked. If you need to, don't be afraid to call for a break if you need one. Most board meetings usually follow a specific order of events, so it's a good idea to know what these might look like. You can ask the secretary to share previous board packs if they have one, to see what the running orders are all about, although don't be surprised if there might be a little bit of reluctance to open up the details if you weren't previously allowed to see them. That said, here is a rough idea of what the meeting may look like. The chair will open, do roll calls, and ask if anyone has any conflicts of interest with any item on the agenda. The board will then review the meeting's last minutes and go over the business that arose out of the last meeting. This happens before putting forward any items that the board needs to make a decision on, as well as any items up for discussion. Next up, there might be a strategy update, depending on how strategic your board tends to be, and all the little tidbits that don't require action or conversation during the meeting will be recorded in an items for noting section. These could include things like upcoming significant events or correspondence that's been received. Finally, the chair will open the floor for questions or comments on things that aren't included in the agenda. Now, there may be variations of this approach and will all depend on the size of the organisation, the makeup of the organisation and board, and ultimately the maturity of the board. But don't be afraid, because you now know what it's going to look like. Number 2 is plan what to wear. Now, I'm not suggesting you go all haute couture and treat it as a catwalk, but dressing appropriately is important no matter where you go. Considering a few days out and having an outfit or two in mind will help reduce any worries or anxieties before the day. I mean, there's a reason why Steve Jobs always wore the same outfit, think black polo neck and blue jeans, so as not to have to make one less decision each day. Unfortunately, you may not have the luxury of wearing the same as Steve, but dressing in an outfit you are comfortable with and sets the right tone is key. It may even help if you have a power jacket or just a sharp suit, because everybody loves putting on a well-tailored suit for the first time. If you're unsure of appropriate attire, you can reach out to your chair to ask if there's usually a dress code or if the organisation is more formal or casual. Either way, make sure to add some of your own personal style to the mix because, to be quite honest, board meetings can be boring enough. So why not add a bit of flavour to it? Number 3 is research other members and attendees. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to guess that board meetings are usually populated with members of the board of directors and the company's executive team. Therefore, it's a good idea to do your research on these people before your first meeting. If nothing else, do this out of courtesy, as understanding who's who and their different roles will give you a good starting point. Also check out their backgrounds and skills, as this will help understand how individuals will approach certain situations. Certainly when you're joining a board, I think it's really important to understand who else is on the board and why they might be there. Some might be shareholders, others might be independent board directors, and you'll want to consider, or at least have some idea of the potential dynamics coming in. Number 4 is make some time. Now, it may feel a little strange, but by reaching out to other directors beforehand can help cultivate healthy working relationships. This can help set the stage for dynamic team building, which is an important thing to develop when you consider board members only meet a handful of times each year. If you can, and are comfortable in doing so, perhaps meeting up with another board member for coffee in person before your meeting might be a good idea. After all, it helps break the ice and develop the relationship prior to the meeting, which can only be a good thing. Number 5 is study the pack. I know it seems pretty obvious, but making sure you set aside adequate time to be able to really study the board pack, which can be quite large, is an absolute necessity. I know we are all guilty of meaning to read meeting packs beforehand, but then they often get missed. The packs can be especially true when board packs are quite overwhelming if done well. And if you're joining the board for the first time, ideally go back over previous half a dozen packs too. This will help you give a sense of what the issues have been and how the board is operating. A board pack is a collection of documents and reports presented to board members before the meeting, so you can reach out to other directors if you'd like to collect some previous packs for your perusal. Another good idea is to research the organisation if you don't know it well already, so you can understand the market and have enough context to feel confident going into that meeting. Put it this way, I would rather be over-prepared and not need the information I've gathered than be underprepared and be worried that I don't know the details during the meeting. Now, number 6 is remember why. If you're joining a board, you really want to understand why you're joining and what you want to achieve. Doing this from the outset will mean you could show the other directors that you are here to contribute. If you are watching this video and are joining the board for the first time, especially in the not-for-profit space, knowing how to help achieve an objective is a great way to go. Remembering your why will not only give you a sense of purpose, but it should also instill you with confidence if you are feeling a little nervous or out of place. If you are a new director, remember that you were voted in because you're bringing unique skills, background, and know-how to the table. You deserve to be there. Number 7 is don't fear conflict. I would say that most people don't like conflict. In any scenario. But this can be quite unnerving when in a formal business setting, especially when during your first board meeting you might be privy to some debates or disagreements. This can be particularly true when the board are dealing with challenging topics. That said, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of creative abrasion, a fancy way of saying conflict that helps resolve a situation, as long as everyone is still being civil. You can expect effective boards to have a bit of conflict, and you actually want that because it means there's diversity of thought, which generally leads to better business outcomes. There will be times when individuals go hammer and tongs at each other over a particular topic, only to join forces and defend another topic together. This is all par for the course. It is absolutely amazing to watch, as not letting personal opinion or ego get in the way is a very niche skill. Seeing board members work through challenging topics is a great learning experience. It's not easy to do though. Number 8 is make your presence known. At your first board meeting, it is a balance between absorbing and getting context, but also adding value. If you're unsure, I would suggest typically erring on the side of 2 ears and 1 mouth for the first couple of meetings. This gives you time to get settled and find your proverbial feet and become more confident in your position. You can do this by asking questions rather than making statements or judgments during the meeting. If you have relevant experience, sharing it here will be insightful. But remember, there is nothing worse than hearing people talking for talking's sake. This can dilute your message, and in turn, in certain circumstances, people can tune out to what you're saying. Hopefully that won't happen in a board meeting, but it's worth bearing in mind. The experience can be nerve-wracking enough. Feeling compelled to talk as an added layer of complexity you could do without. Now, number 9 is considering some education. The not-for-profit space does not always provide would-be board members with the same level of knowledge and comfort around governance as the commercial space does. Without a corporate background, people who come from not-for-profits might find subject matters of a board to be a little daunting. It can be pretty intimidating, sitting on the board for the first time thinking, holy crap, these are all the things I've got to think about as a director. These are my obligations. I can go to jail if I don't exercise caution or if I'm negligent on specific issues. Therefore, it is super important coming into a board that you understand your fiduciary duties and your obligations. And I'd say there's a lot of people coming from not-for-profits that perhaps have a few knowledge gaps in this area. Therefore, it might be a sensible idea to put yourself through some formal education to give yourself the best possible chance of success especially if you're not familiar with some of the more nuanced activities in the corporate world. There are courses which help give a solid grounding in duties and responsibilities of boards and directors. These programs will cover things like duties and meeting processes and finance and strategy and risk, etc. I mean, it may feel a little bit like overkill, but feeling exposed in a board meeting is a far worse place to be. So spending some time upskilling yourself in the knowledge to act in the best way for your organisation may be a few £1,000s well spent. Now, number 10 actually happens after the event, but it's about asking for a debrief. I don't think it's a bad idea to ask the chair or another director for a debrief after your first board meeting. I mean, this shows you are keen to learn and committed to acting in the best fiduciary duty possible. It's very similar to asking for feedback when performing a role. Asking, was that a typical board meeting? Have I interpreted the board dynamics correctly? How should my contribution evolve next time? All these questions will help get you up to speed as quickly as possible. Number 11 is reflect. We've all seen it happen. We spend ages preparing for a big event only for the day to arrive, pass by in the blink of an eye, for it then to be forgotten as life moves on. This can be true for board meetings too. It's not uncommon for people not to speak again until the next board meeting, so that's why momentum is key. Being able to keep conversations going and thereby the actions agreed should not be ignored. One action you should always make is one with yourself, and that is to take time to reflect on the meeting. There are lots of complexities being on a board, and some of these issues can't be all addressed in one meeting. That's why taking a step back, reviewing how it went from your perspective, reflecting on the situation and noting this for next time will do nothing but put you in a great position to be a successful board member. With all that said, these Super 11 tips will help you survive your first board meeting, and now you are ready to approach it. Obviously, these tips can be applied to any big meeting, but they are focused on your first board meeting because I want you to be a success. And that's it. I would love to hear your experiences of big meetings and board meetings, and please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what went well or perhaps what didn't. I'd love you to tell me how you got on. But do you want to know why silence is one of a leader's superpowers? Then check out this video right here because I think you'll find it super insightful. But with that, have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.